Hey, everybody. Do you want to win a free cookbook? Do you want to know all about the Gullah Geechee recipes? Of course you do. I am so excited. Welcome to Cookbooks with Virginia. It's a show weekly, a show every Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am clearly coming to you from sunny South Florida, hence the blue background. But I'm super excited. I've got two dear friends on with me today. One of the hottest cookbooks released this spring, BRESS and NYAM. We're going to talk all about it. So here's what you're going to do. You can win a free copy of this book. And if you're not catching this live and you're catching this later, the giveaway lasts all weekend. So you've got time to sign up. And even if you don't catch it live and you catch it later, you're going to want to find out all these great questions and answers that we're going to talk about. So to win a free copy, what I'm going to ask you to do is go to my Instagram feed, look for the cover of this book. You're going to follow me. You're going to follow Matthew. And then on Monday, we're gonna choose a winner. So let me bring everybody on now. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, how you doing, Virginia? Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. And hey, Amy, thank you.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
This is so exciting. I haven't had three guests on before, so I'm so happy it's the both of you.
Good, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so Matthew, you taught me how to say this, and I applaud you. I'm sure this was probably an argument with the publisher. I want you to tell everybody how to say the name of your book.
It's called BRESS and NYAM, which means bless and eat in Gullah Geechee.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
it is.
Man. No, but I am serious. I'm curious. Did y'all have a tussle about this name at all?
Well, so here's something super funny, and I don't think I've told this to someone, but I think they just had this look of awe on their face when I finished with it. So basically, Amy and I were sitting at her office at the Refinery Writing Studio in and we were actually talking about, what do you want the name to be? And I was like, I don't know if I want to say CheFarmer Matthew. I don't know. And then she was like, well, what would you really want it to be? And I said, well, and I wrote it up on the board, and she was like, and then I was like, wait, before we do that, let me go talk to one of the Gullah Geechee that I knew to make sure they're writing it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to say it. I just wanted to make sure I was writing it right.
Yeah.
So we went to go see Jamal, Dr. Jamal Toure, and at Savannah State. Yep. And he was like, well, you got it. He was like, I don't know why you came to see me. I was like, well, I just wanted to make sure, because as soon as you get it out, people like to go and figure out ways to pick it apart.
Yeah.
Go back to Amy's office. We're sitting there, and she was like, when they ask you what title you want it to be, I want you to tell them what you want. Don't second guess it, just tell them. And literally, we're on the phone, conference call kind of style or whatever, and they go, so, have you started thinking about a title for the book? And I said, yeah, I want it to be named BRESS and NYAM. And it got quiet for a quick second. They were like, well, what does that mean? I said, it means bless and eat. And they were like, okay, that's the name of the book.
Wow, that's awesome.
I looked back at Amy and was like,
we were just like, wait, we don't have to fight.
Wait, we don't have to fight for this name? Wait.
Really funny. I'm going
to share this. And this is a friend of mine. I know that she's not trying to be derogatory, but I think this is a good educational moment. So my friend Corlette writes, I thought it was about chicken breasts and yams. What do you say to that? Because this is first of all, is Gullah Geechee predominantly a written language or a verbal language? And then that's awesome that your publishing company had the backbone. That's the word I'm going to use.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
What was neat is we had written out on my whiteboard, the dry erase board in the office, tons of words. Like we had like a little Gullah dictionary printed out. We were writing things. And, there's a part of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Tour that has these words on. It's on Jekyll Island. And we kept coming back to yam. And I was like, oh, I remember when I lived in Miami, Jamaican people would say nyam. and for yummy and for I'm gonna go eat. And so I always remember that we'd always say, we'd say that to each other, and then learning that it was also part of the Gullah patois. And so we kept coming back to that word. And then we thought we were going to have bless and eat on the cover just because.
Yeah.
But then when they designed the cover, they're like, no, we don't let this just be it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So yay.
That's wonderful. So y'all, for those of you that are just joining us, because I see that some people are just joining us, and my mama says, hello, Chief. She's meaning you, Matthew. Hello.
How you doing?
Watching.
Pleasure.
Mama. I know. And Amy, see, Mama, you remember Amy. I was telling Mama. So y'all, I want you to go to my Instagram feed and look for the cover of this book, this beautiful, beautiful new book by Matthew Raiford. Some of you may know Matthew from the thousands of different things that he's done. And many of you will remember him from the beautiful photo essay that Angie Mosier did for my last book, Secrets of the Southern Table.
Yeah.
That was all the cool things. Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Thank you. Because all the cool things I've gotten to do in my life, going to visit you at your Centennial Farm, getting to see where your ancestors have lived, where you have lived, you and your sister, your family have lived. To walk in that forest. I mean,
that Spanish moss is just
Spanish moss, and then the stories that you told about like walking back there instead of walking on the road because the mean old white guy down the road would like charge Black people a tax to walk on the highway. I mean, that whole experience was it was really eye-opening and enlightening for me. And I remember asking you, like, why the hell did you come back?
Yeah. I sometimes ask myself that every once in a blue moon, especially when the weather does something crazy like what it's doing right now, where it's like 50-something degrees, and I'm just starting to plant rice and I need it to be 70+ degrees, global warming or something like that. But that's another conversation. I had constantly said I'd never come back to the South. When I left at 18, it was not, and I want everybody to have a sense of place on that one too. I left here in 1985, so I didn't leave in 2010 or something like that. Like I left in 1985 after having been raised here in Brunswick, Georgia, and having had to deal with a level of racism that I think that most people wouldn't think that someone that was just in their 50s had ever experienced.
Right.
And I always explain to people that the high school I graduated from was built for integration. It wasn't set up originally from that. It wasn't like built as a high school so we can addition because we got so many kids. It was built to cause integration. So they were like, we're not going to integrate the white school. We're not going to integrate the Black school. What we're going to do is we're going to build an additional high school for that. So when I graduated in 1985, I think I was telling Amy this in one of my stories. When I opened my very first restaurant, Farmer and Larder in downtown Brunswick, I opened it just not even a block from a space that had denied me the right to use the bathroom when I was 10. So my mom and I actually walk into this store, and I'm with my little sister who was 6 at the time, Althea. And we were walking around. My mom had stuff in her little bag or whatever, in her cart or whatever. And I never forget. She asked the lady. She said, "Excuse me, miss, where's the bathroom?" And the lady was like, "We ain't got no bathrooms for y'all." And that has been stuck in my head for 40-something years.
No kidding,
right?
You almost left Virginia.
Right, you almost.
Which would have been appropriate.
Yeah.
No. Well, Mama is watching, but she's heard me say that word before. But no, seriously. And I mean, I grew up in South Georgia, but clearly we didn't have the same experience for very obvious reasons. But you went back, and I love. So let's talk a little bit about your story, about the fact that you live on the land that your family purchased
in 1874.
Like after Emancipation Proclamation, like once freed from slavery, your family bought the land that you live on, the land that you're on right now,
right,
which is amazing. And just the fact that like Black farm ownership is still microscopic, and the fact that your family has kept it for all this long. So do you talk about this in BRESS and NYAM?
That's probably the crux of the whole book. Everything keeps coming back to Jupiter Gilliard being born in 1812 as a slave, and then purchasing that land in 1874. That I'm purchasing the farm, the land that I'm on currently, and then I think that it has also helped shape like who I am, how I think about the land, and I think part of your question earlier was, why come back? And I really came back because my Nana asked me to, so to speak, by consistently saying, baby, what are we going to do with all this land? And she would say that like every couple of years, she would say that. And I kept going, y'all should go back to farming because that's what y'all know how to do. I don't want no part of it. And in 2010, my sister and I were looking at each other and I was like, what are we gonna do with all this land? Why are you asking me that? I work at the House of Representatives. Do you know how much money I make? No. That was what was in my head. But what came out my mouth was, Nana, we should go back to farming it.
Yeah, something along the lines of yes, ma'am. Is what came out
right.
Like that.
I think that's when the ancestors came down and just spoke
right,
through
and just kind of like spoke through me and just like poof.
They were like,
all right, I got a question there.
His head's getting in the way. I got to speak.
Yeah, definitely.
Corlette is asking you, how did they buy it? So that's a very valid question. Like, how did freed slaves have the money to buy the property?
So here's what's interesting. So Jupiter Gilliard was a woodworker and metal worker, from what I understand, and he paid $9 in taxes for that land at that particular moment in time. But within that, I always get people like, how did he amass $9 in tax? I said, well, know that $9 is not a lot of money today. But back then, it took him from the time he was free till then to save up that money. So we're talking like almost 9 years to say, so he had to save almost $1 a year to be able to do that. But then here's one of the really like super crazy things. Inside the deed, the original land deed, it actually states that he could not, at any point in time, if something changed, he could not at all sell anything from his farm to the Confederate. So he had to pledge allegiance to I think it was the 23rd Union Militia or something like that. He basically had to say, hey, if something goes crazy, I ain't got no part of it. I will make sure that I stay with the Union when I do this.
Well, that wouldn't be a hard sell, right?
Yeah, it would be a hard sell, but think about it.
There's also reality. There's also reality.
Right, the reality of it. And Amy and I got to talking one day just about the fact that, when you drive up on, I-16 heading to Atlanta, you see the sons and daughters of the Confederate, so it wasn't like it died. It wasn't like, oh, Civil War's over with. Oh, okay, no problem. Oh, wait, now it's Jim Crow. It was more like that night riders were real. Yeah. And night riders were already starting to do that kind of thing. I was reading Boy Scientists with George Washington Carver. And, the first chapter in that book is called The Night Riders.
Right.
And so that's just kind of, that's.
One thing I learned too, while we were writing the book, was that during the last year, of the Civil War, which was brutal and bloody, more so and much more brutal than it had been in the previous years, the Union offered to free any Black men who would come fight for it. So they were like, if you will fight for the Union and for your own freedom, then you will have the benefits of freedom. Even though emancipation had happened, that wasn't happening in the South. And so, in Georgia especially, so there was this effort. So that's how people were conscripted. They got conscripted to fight. And so at the end of the Civil War, they had basically, quote unquote, won their freedom.
Right. Wow.
And so that's why he has the militia in his
on the deed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that secured him. That secured that would be his land.
That's amazing. So y'all, I want to ask you if anyone has any questions about today's book, to please put it in the comments and I'll see them. And I'm already laughing, Matthew. Before we got on, we were talking about you and Amy and Dr. Jessica Harris being last night at Politics and Prose, and someone asked you, why not an hour? And here I am thinking, why did I just do 30 minutes? Talk about. So everybody, this is the book, BRESS and NYAM. It's gorgeous. I'm gonna put in solo layout just for a second so I can show everybody some of this. So this is the farm, beautiful Spanish moss.
Beautiful.
And look, dropping the book. And then so many recipes. So you've got and I love
history, the family records.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember seeing that when I came to you, and we've got Gullah rice, like a big bowl of that right now. Hot buttermilk biscuits. It's National Buttermilk Biscuit Day, y'all.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good celebration day. We just all get biscuits.
Okay, and I'm going to exit this because I want to talk to you about this, because I am a boiled peanut fanatic. I love boiled peanuts. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Montezuma down in South Georgia, or what they call Middle Georgia now.
You know what's crazy? When I spoke earlier and talked about the New South, so many things have changed here. Like where I live at it's in Glenn County. I really don't live in Brunswick. I live in Brookman unincorporated. That's really where I live. Brookman unincorporated is the actual place that I live, right? Well, now it's euphemistically called West Glen. And so people are like, "Oh yeah, I just bought a house out in West Glen." And I was like, "Brookman?" And they're like, "No, West Glen. I bought some land and I got a house being built." And so I'm when I first moved home, I was so confused on like the names of places around here that I was like, "No, that's called Buck Swamp." And they're like, "No, it's called West Glen." No, it's called Buck Swamp. That's my road. Right, it's called Buck Swamp.
The past 200 years.
Right.
I always like how things get named for what no longer is there, when it's like Cedar something or Eagle's Nest or so everything that used to exist there that you tore down to build that house. That's so nice.
Oh yeah, that's the truth. All right, so let's talk about the potluck tubers, because that's something I need in my life at some point. So let's talk about tell people how you would normally make boiled peanuts.
Okay. So
and then I want you to tell me what inspired you for this genius.
For this pot liquor peanuts. Okay. So super funny. I've boiled peanuts in the past, and it was, it's a process too. Like, so some people don't understand that, like, boiling peanuts is not like, oh, I threw them in there raw, 30 minutes later, I'm eating them. It's like a 4-hour process.
Yeah.
It's a very long process. Even if you soak the peanuts ahead of time, it's a very long process. And then when I started doing boiled peanuts, I was like, oh, I should make a really nice vegetable stock and put yada, yada, yada in it. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be good. And I started tasting. And then I was like, wait, I started thinking like, okay, why am I doing this? Okay, what did grandma and them used to do with the pot liquor from the greens? And it just was like, boom, that's right. They used to boil these little pots of peanuts because pot liquor was also used to, like, it was like one of those cure-all things like castor oil or whatever. So we used to drink the pot liquor as like, in the wintertime, like you about to get a cold, oh, you need to drink some of this pot liquor. And so you
so good.
Yeah,
it's
just
so
like
good.
A whole glass of it, right? And the only thing that actually beats pot liquor though, for real, is a peppermint that's soaked in a bottle of gin. The old big long fat peppermints.
Well, that'll beat anything.
Right. Well, no, my grandmother, if you remotely had a fever, she would give you a little shot of that and make you go lay down. You would sweat out whatever was inside you. You'd be a little drunk too, but you sweat out whatever was inside of you. And then next day you back outside playing. Like, she didn't play on that. But the pot liquor, that whole thing was like, I kept trying to remember, when you're trying to remember what you saw as a child, sometimes it takes years for it to like come into its full deal. And all of a sudden one day I was just sitting there like, man, I got all these greens, I got all this pot liquor. So okay, I put that in some mason jars. I got the big quart ones. Okay. And then I just poured it into the thing. It was like, why go and make vegetable stock when I got the most amazing, nutritious vegetable stock ever?
And umami, I mean, like flavor.
Oh, yes.
Umami,
yes.
And umami in the pot. The sour, salty, bitter, sweet.
Yeah. Well, and the Berber spice, because listen, you add the Berber spice, it gives it like kicks it up just that little bit of notch that you're kind of like, it almost has a smokiness to it.
Yeah, sure.
From the smoked paprika.
And yeah, the paprika and the
and it has fenugreek.
Fenugreek.
Yeah, it has fenugreek. It has fenugreek, coriander, bene seeds. It's all in there. And that's the way I remember my grandmother and them making it way back in the day. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to make it the exact same way. And it was really interesting. Like, coming home also, allowed me to like look at Southern food a little bit differently too, because I remember my very first catering company, people were like, oh, you know how to make macaroni and cheese? I was like, no, I don't make macaroni and cheese. I was like, I can't be doing stuff like that. Oh, yeah, those Sapelo Island clams. Oh, God.
Y'all, so good.
Love them.
The photography that was done by Bevan Jalbert and Siobhan Egan with Paprika Southern.
With Paprika Southern. They were amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just amazing to work with. Their eye for detail on the food and how things need to sit. And all. It was just, I could not have asked for a better team, Virginia. I could have not asked for a better team.
Well, I know. I mean, it's so important, and everyone's got to like get it. Like this. Okay, so let's transition here, because I think this is a really cool thing. Like, how long have y'all been friends, and how did y'all decide to work together?
Well,
I'll let you tell the story this time.
Okay. Well, actually, I had interviewed Matthew a couple of times when I was with Savannah Magazine. And so we'd see each other at the Savannah Food and Wine Festival, and we'd chit chat and things like that. And he mentioned something about farming the land that had belonged to his great-great-great-grandfather. So I actually sent a reporter down to do a story on him, because I was really trying to change the way Savannah Magazine covered food, because we were doing listicles, like 10 favorite desserts and crap like that. And I was like, how many times can you do that? We got all these farmers. We've got all these chefs working with farmers. We have chef farm. I mean, like, we need to tell the story of the food and tell where it comes from. So Eileen Sessoms went down and interviewed. And I kept that story with me for a while because I thought it was such a great story. And then in 2018, we were both TEDx talks for TEDx Savannah. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because we show up at the orientation and he's sitting across the room and I'm like, my gosh, that's Matthew. And I don't think he'll remember me, but I reintroduced myself. And then, you know, we both do our TEDx talks that day. And I was in the first batch of people and you were actually the last person of the day.
Yeah.
And so I was in the first batch and I was talking about the book I was working on about Bill Baggs, who was a civil rights editor. And then Matthew gets up and does The Legacy is in the Soil. Mm-hmm. And so we're supposed to be doing the group picture and all that stuff. And I just blew it off and walked across the stage. And I was like, hey, why don't you have a cookbook?
And here's my response. I was like, you gonna write it? I just, because I had just got off the stage too, so
I didn't give him even a chance to talk.
I was just like, I was way up on a serious, like, having remembered those lines and all the words and all the things. I was like, oh, okay. So I go to sit, and right as I went like this, like, Amy walked up and was like, why don't you have a cookbook? And I was like, and I just responded if you write
I'm not
it,
known for my subtlety.
none at all. And literally, she was like, let's get together next week. And I was like, okay. And literally the following week, she brought the whole team in and was like, hey, I don't even know if this is going to work, but let's try it out. And we sat down right there inside the restaurant. And kind of, you know, she brought a couple of cookbooks with her. And I was like, I want to make sure I don't have that in there. And I don't want any of that in there. And I was like, my pictures need to be bright. They need to pop. I was like, the South is not about like just smoky and dark pictures, right? You know, I said, it's very vibrant here. We're on the coast. And they captured that from us talking about it 3 years ago. And I never mentioned anything about it again. Like, I didn't mention one thing about pictures. I didn't mention one thing about how I wanted the food to be styled. I literally told them, I don't want that ish right there that y'all have in front of me. I want something that no one has really like seen a lot of.
Right. And that's something I think is really interesting because you do have that world experience. You did leave in 1985. You were the chef at the House of Representatives, for goodness sakes.
Mm-hmm.
You have like all this world education and exposure. And I think that one of the things that happens with Southern food is people think
It's a monolith.
it's a monolith. Southerners and non-Southerners. And there's only one biscuit, or that we only eat biscuits and fried chicken and watermelon and that it's not this super multicultural place. Yes, we can respect 6 generations of Geechee Gullah cooking. But we also have like crazy thing like the internet, and we try, and Southern food is a living, breathing, growing thing.
Yes, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit last night during our interview. I remember when me saying that I understood how to cook and I understood how to do things, people would kind of like push this thing about, well, you're from the South. And
don't you make macaroni and cheese?
Right, yeah. Or don't you make macaroni and cheese? And I use I never forget Chef Papini, God rest his soul. One day because I would nod off in class all the time, right? Because some of the cooking classes were just like, oh my God, I already know how to do this. Like, I can't stay awake to listen about how to make a bechamel again. Like, I already know how to make a cream sauce, Yeah. And I nodded off one good time, and I must have been snoring pretty hard because he was like, Mr. Raiford, did you hear what I said? And I popped up and I was like, yes, chef. You wanted to know about the bechamel and what happens when you add cheese, the Mornay sauce. I said, it's a macaroni and cheese sauce. And I went just like this. And he was like, wait, what? I literally was listening to what he was saying. Yeah. But in my head, I was like, it's a macaroni and cheese sauce. Like, I get that you can do different cheeses. What you're telling me is I grew up, I know how to make that. Like, I know how to make that with a root. I know that root is supposed to be super blonde if I'm going to do it. As a matter of fact, my grandma and them didn't even put flour and make a root. They used to make the slurries back in the day with arrowroot and cornstarch because flour was used to cook with. You know, like you bake with flour, right? We ain't going to lose no flour, And so I kind of remember like those kinds of things, or people just presuming that the only thing I knew how to cook was Southern food. And I'd say stuff like, oh no, I was just on Splendid Table and we talked about cocktail sauce. And he said, wait, y'all make cocktail sauce? And I said, yeah. He said, from scratch? And I said, yeah, from scratch. And he was like, wait. Yeah, he was asking me that. And we were laughing about it because in his head, he was thinking, in the deep South, who makes cocktail sauce?
We got shrimp.
Right. But he's thinking like,
he's like smart and educated. He ought to know that we know how to make cocktail sauce.
Oh, no. No. Here's what I really believe that it was, though. It wasn't that, but what Southern cookbook have you ever seen that has like cocktail sauce as part of that conversation? They don't. Right. It's an automatic. We believe that everybody already knows how to make it. So I'll tell you how to make a low country boil. I'm not going to tell you how to make cocktail sauce. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know,
your nana taught you how to make that.
Right. And so when we got to talk about it, he was like, you are telling me things that I had really not thought about to be part of that. And then that's when I got to talking to him about the port of Brunswick and how the port of Brunswick is one of the first 5 ports that George Washington put into place. So it was a port before Savannah was a port. Mm-hmm. So when you think about my running joke is most people don't realize that when you drew straws to get on the boat from the old world, you could draw a straw and not end up in Boston or New York and end up in the South and be Italian or be Portuguese or be Irish or be whatever. Because you drew the short straw, so you're going to go down there.
Right.
So,
that's a lot of people don't realize how
a lot of people don't realize how multicultural like this area is, and also like the amount of food ways that come through here. So I'm gonna give one really quick because I know we're about to hit the time. So it's shrimping season here, right? And we have something that's called Blessing of the Fleet.
Yep.
And that is a time period where the Catholic priest blesses the boats that are going out to shrimp. That's because of Portuguese fishermen. That's where that tradition, where that ritual, where all that came in from, it comes from the Portuguese. Right. And so when I start talking, even in the book, I think we covered as many of those other cultures that are involved in how we eat, right? Like I make coastal paella. Well, why would you make coastal paella? Well, okay. My mom and them wouldn't call it paella, or they wouldn't even call it shrimp Creole. Like it would be, so in South Carolina, it'd be a purloue. Right. But here we had Spanish influence. So the Spaniards, one of the reasons this was one of those first 5 ports is because the Spaniards owned Florida and part of Georgia.
Right.
Well,
right.
was
Ossabaw hog
by the Spaniards on the island, on Ossabaw Island, because they needed them to fatten up by the time they came back, and that would be their winter food. So that's why you have the Ossabaw hog. And then in Savannah, they brought in the first ships that Oglethorpe came in on, he had a huge Italian contingent because they were supposed to grow the mulberry trees to make the silk for the crown. Right. And then the second ship that arrived here in this area was all full of Jewish settlers. And the reason why they let them in was so that because there was a doctor on board and they were in a yellow fever epidemic.
Right.
So much history.
So history goes into our food.
So much history goes into our food. I really strongly have long believed that, everything about us is reflected in everything that about us is reflected on the end of your fork. Your education, your history, your thoughts about art, your thoughts about, everything.
Every plate is politics.
Well, politics too, right?
Economics, history, everything.
So Todd Richards, Jessica Harris, Ronnie Lundy, you've got a whole litany of people praising this book. It's a combination of old school recipes from your grandma, but also roasted squab with Three Sisters succotash and rose petal quail, dark winged duck with almost rum orange glaze, Effie's brown sugar molasses pound cake, magic cobbler. Magic cobbler.
Yeah, the magic cobbler was actually one of the first Pillsbury recipes. It was on the back of the Pillsbury flour thing. And my mom, I don't even know if we took a picture of it. My mom actually kept the very first one that she had cut out for me. And so I got to find it now.
Got a picture of that.
Yeah, no, we didn't get a picture of that. But so that's like one of the first things.
Yeah. That's one of my that's a go-to recipe.
Yeah.
So that is just so beautiful. And there's history here. There's, the beautiful photographs of your farm, your heritage, your ancestry, but then it's just really a beautiful book, and I'm so incredibly joyful that
Me
you have
too.
put this beautiful work into the world.
And I have to say this out loud for everyone that's listening, and I will do it anytime being interviewed. Amy captured every single word that I could possibly imagine I wanted in the book. She didn't try to co-opt the story in any kind of way. She didn't come in and go, well, maybe we should tell it like this. She was just like, is that the story you want to tell? And I was like, yes. And she was like, okay, well, this is, read it. Oh, that's exactly what I said. You know what I'm saying? Short of, she actually put in commas and semicolons and periods where for me it would have been written as though I talked. Right.
Yeah, I get you. No, I get you. No, and I think that's really smart. It's so wise on your part, and a really, it's frankly, Matthew shows extraordinary wisdom for you to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and how you had something bigger than one person to put out in the world, and that no different than like if you're in a kitchen and you need a strong sous chef, or if you're in a kitchen and you need someone in garde manger, or if you're in the kitchen and you just need a damn good dishwasher, like whatever that is, the team that comes together to produce, that is leadership. That is leadership.
There was a really cool thing that happened in that first meeting too, when we all gathered to talk about putting a proposal together.
Right.
We set our intention. I mean, like we sat there and we said, like, what is our intention here? And there was no self in the intention. It was, here is a story. And here is a story that can be meaningful to a lot of people, but it can also tell a better and deeper story about the South.
Right.
It can tell a better and deeper story about the food ways of the South. It can honor the hands that make and grow it. And like he said, he wanted it to be brighter, to be a different look. And so it all went back to, how do we tell the most authentic story possible through words and images and food? And we set that intention in that very first meeting and never left that intention.
I'm so glad that y'all did and you didn't. So y'all, there are tons of events coming up. They've got lots of virtual events going on. Y'all got some high cotton events too. So I'm really proud and happy that you made the time to come on this today. All right, I'm going to end up with my 5 questions, and I think that what I'll do is kind of go back and forth with the two of you.
Okay.
So all right. So Matthew, I'm going to ask you first. What is your most indispensable cooking tool? I've got 5 questions that I kind of wrap every show. So indispensable desert island.
I need my spice grinder. I don't care if it's a manual one or one that if I'm a desert island, I might not have electricity. So I'll take a manual one.
Okay.
I need to be able to pick things and grind things up together because you can figure out how to cut stuff. That's easy. Yeah.
But you need some spice. All right, that's good. Okay, Amy, Madam Author. So y'all have to check out Amy's Google Amy Page Condon. She's also got a website. She's got the Refinery Writing Studio. I'm one of her students. So the great coach and writer. What is the last cookbook that you read or cooked from other than BRESS and NYAM?
Oh, wow.
Woo!
Okay, so the last cookbook, I actually was making one dish out of Soul by Todd Richards, and one dish out of, and I've got it sitting here with me. It is Beyond Gumbo by Jessica B. Harris.
There you go. That's some good answers. Soul is a great book. That's a wonderful book too. Okay, Matthew.
I'm still not great at cooking collards, so I have to work on that.
Oh my God, I love collard greens. That's like I love collard greens. All right, Matthew, of the five flavors, sour, salty, bittersweet, and umami, which is your favorite?
Umami.
Yeah.
Umami. I just like umami encompasses everything instead of me trying to figure it out. Like I just had a piece of key lime cake that a good friend of mine's father made from his grandmother's recipe. and it was the first time I had ever eaten, well, maybe second time I'd ever eaten a dense key lime pie, like dense. It's always like fluffy or whatever, like someone did it from Duncan Hines. Nothing against Duncan Hines, I'm just saying.
Was it more like a really authentic pound cake kind of consistency?
Yeah, it was like it was layered,
sugar?
but it was like 3 big layers with this like, and then he did the
cake.
key lime cake. And so I was like, oh my God, this is like tangy and sweet and sour from the, like it was all these different things with just, ooh, goodness. So yeah, even in sweet things you can find that. So
that is a cool thing. Well, I know your food. I've eaten your food. We've cooked together, and I love the way that you play with, respect, and manipulate flavor. And I know,
thank you.
I know that these recipes are packed with that wisdom and expertise. All right, so Amy, what would be if you're like just chilling out, because there's so much content now, either online or on television, what is one of your favorite cooking shows or chefs, like celebrity chefs on TV?
Oh wow!
Oh wow! It could just be.
I'll tell you someone I watched recently that I hadn't seen in a really long time. And I remember him from Miami when I lived there. I was watching Steve Raichlen grill vegetables.
Yeah.
And I got into this spiral of watching his cooking for a while, because I was like, okay, I want to, the joy that he had, but two, the way he was mixing all of these different cultural references together, and sort of creating, honoring, one, he was dispelling myths and honoring traditions, but also creating completely new things. So all of that together, I was like, I had just wished I had a grill set up so I could play along while I was watching.
Oh, very cool. No, that's so good. There's so much. There really is. I mean, on some levels, it's so exciting that there's so much content, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a phone, you can have a TV show, right? If you have a phone, you have a phone, you have two good friends on a show, cookbooks, you know. So the possibilities there, and Lordy knows, yes, there's so much garbage and there's so much misinformation.
Right.
You don't know how to cook. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Right.
What are you doing? But then there's also so much. There's so much great stuff out there. All right, Matthew, I'm going to end with you. And this is a big end, though. But
goodness.
What is one of your favorite cooking memories? What is one of your favorite food memories?
Oh,
I know.
You know, my mom's right outside. She's with my sister, and some good friends of mine are all outside. And I just heard my mom laugh. And there's 2 things that my mom made. And one of them was, I remember the very first time she told me she was going to make porcupines. And I was like, porcupines? She was like, yeah, make these little rice balls and meatballs, and the rice is going to pop out of it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. But in my head, I first thought it was like a porcupine, you know what I'm saying? And so I think one of my very most memorable food memories is when I made that for my sister, and she didn't eat it because I was a latchkey kid. So it was like the recipe's there, My mom, I got a whipping that day because my sister didn't eat. I'll never forget this. And I know some people are like, that was fun, but just listen. That was when my mom said to me, baby, I want you to understand that a recipe is a guide. It's not a rule. It's a guide. Like, if you think something ain't, or you don't think you put enough of something in, trust your gut and adjust it. And I have lived with that since I was 10. So 44 years, I've known that part. And I think the next piece was, Chef Fritz Schonenschmidt at the Culinary Institute of America saying to me, Matthew, I want you to learn to cook with your heart and let it come through your hands. And I was like, cook with my heart and let it come through my hand. Ain't that what you're supposed to do? And he said, it is what you're supposed to do, but most people don't.
Oh my God, who's chopping onions, man?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it was 2 food memories, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much, because my mom had given me this, like, instilled this thought in me to, like, think about what I was doing with the recipes. And anybody that's cooking from BRESS NYAM, if you see something that doesn't quite jive with you or whatever, also think that I'm in coastal Georgia cooking this. So you might have to change your temperature or do whatever. So, I mean, I'm glad you asked me that question because it gives me a segue to say things like that. Like, you know, different times of the year, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. You got your shrimp is going to be completely different. Someone getting shrimp in Nebraska, right?
So, yes.
You know, like still quivering from the water, or
right.
Solid. So, y'all, I could just talk to you. Well, I love you both.
We love you.
We love you too.
Oh my God.
I'm so damn proud of this book and seeing you do this and the 2 of you doing it together. Like, and I'm so happy that I am not crying. Why am I crying? I'm just so proud.
You're trying to get me to tear over this eye right here. I can't.
And the Gullah Geechee recipes and the importance of it. And then also, like, this is your mama's cornbread, and it's more than your mama's cornbread, right? Like, this is the South where, you know, and I'm so proud of all your success, and y'all go out and get this book, right?
Please do. As soon as the pandemic is, you know, figuring out how it's going to balance itself, I want to host you down here on the farm.
I want
bring Amy, you know, bring Mama. You know, and just come down to the farm and let's just. And I just built an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, I want to come down and do that. I really.
Yeah, during the pandemic, that was one of my things. I laid a slab of concrete, and now we have some big hay bale rings that we've built a grilling area. So yeah. That
will be wonderful. Yeah, we're getting hot down here now, though. We might have to wait.
Oh no, I'm not. No.
October, November.
November.
It'll be okay again to walk outdoors.
Yeah. After hurricane season. After hurricane season.
Y'all thank you so much for being on today. Y'all
thank
really
you for having me.
God bless you. Congratulations, and
I'll
see you soon.
Yeah.
Yay.
Soon. Take care.
Y'all, thank you so much for watching today. I could just talk forever because these are, honestly, goodness, like two folks that mean a ton to me, that have really, like, impacted my life. I want you to let this book impact your life. It's beautiful. It's beautifully written. It tells an incredible story. It is if you like food, if you want to know more about Southern food, start, right? Great place to start. If you want to win a free copy, go to my Instagram feed. You're going to see the cover of this book. You're going to like me. You're going to like Matthew. And that's it. And the only other thing I want to say is I've got a little giveaway going on for the book, but I've also got a giveaway going on for National Buttermilk Biscuit Day. So head on over to Instagram, and I will see you next week on Cookbooks with Virginia. Thank you so much for watching. Bon appetit, y'all. Bye-bye now.